With us now is James Moore, former Conservative cabinet minister. James, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Realistic expectations for this trip. We talked about, the tariffs and the back and forth, and we've been running a story as well about how much this is hurting canola farmers in particular in this country. What are you expecting for these next couple of days as the Prime Minister heads to China?
I think immediate deliverables, none, but that doesn't mean this isn't going to be a very significant trip. This is an important trip. In the face of Donald Trump and in face of calendar 2026, where we're going to have a reexamination of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico free trade agreement, I think it's important to, frankly, kickstart not only a relationship within China, because it's been more than 4 years now since the two Michaels have been released. It's been almost 9 years since Prime Minister Trudeau was last in China. So to sort of refresh the relationship with Beijing, with Xi Jinping, I think is important on some practical issues like the access to canola and some specific commodities that we want to get into the Chinese marketplace. But also, I think it's most important to kickstart a conversation here in Canada with informed media amongst Canadians in legislatures, in Parliament. A lot of people say we need to diversify our markets beyond the United States. Well, this is part of what that looks like, and it brings up some old questions about the reliability of the Chinese market, but also brings up some new questions like, if we're going to sell more to China in a reliable way, what does that mean for the future of the Canada-U.S. relationship if the Americans start getting anxious about the transshipment of goods from China into the United States via Canada through the current free trade agreement? So all of that needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about openly and discussed pragmatically and frankly amongst all stakeholders and all governments to get a sense of the new world that we're going into as a consequence of Donald Trump and the America First isolationist movement. What does that mean in terms of our opportunities around the world? And that's part, I think, what this trip is about, and what the Prime Minister wants to inspire is more debate within Canada about our relationship with China.
And it feels like that's what Mark Carney has been doing, right? We talk about, outside of the value base that Justin Trudeau really did focus on, would not necessarily do business with countries that had human rights concerns or otherwise. And this has been a testy relationship between Canada and China. The accusations of foreign interference as well that we've been talking about for the last couple of years. But it really is going to be a reliance on these countries and elsewhere around the world that Canada is going to need, as you talked about, with that diversification.
The key, you took the word, right? Diversification is the ultimate goal, and that's the ultimate dream. More than 95% of our energy exports go straight to the United States. So if you do have a good relationship with China, or good relations more broadly across the Asia Pacific as a possible destination for Canadian energy products, that's very good for Canada. China alone would purchase every drop of liquefied natural gas that would come out of Canada. That was part of the major projects initiative that the Prime Minister announced. The LNG industry has been wanting certainty about more export markets, and it also might provide a little bit more energy and a little more impetus behind the need behind the MOU between the government of Alberta and the government of Canada to see if you can find some genuine economic, Indigenous, and industry reconciliation to get another pipeline to the west coast of Canada, so that you might have another energy market beyond the United States to sell Canadian commodities. Look, Canada, from the Hudson Bay Company through fur trading to the FTA with the United States to NAFTA to the Canada-Europe Free Trade Agreement, Canada has always been and always will be a trading nation. Our standard of living is dependent on creating Canadian jobs through world sales, breaking open foreign markets, and building trade relationships, because the Canadian market alone internally, it's not big enough to sustain the quality of life, the social programs that we expect, and the standard of living that Canadians demand. So we have to sell to the rest of the world. Part of that is going to have to be China. China is our second largest trading partner. With it comes all kinds of asterisks and risks, not only for Canada, but also for the Canada-U.S. relationship. So it's important to have this debate kickstarted. And Prime Minister Carney, to your original question, will there be some clear deliverables out of this trip? Probably not. Will it create some momentum towards further conversations between the governments? Probably. But most importantly, we need to have this dialogue within Canada about trade diversification and what it really looks like in the trade-offs that we have to make.
Former Conservative Cabinet Minister James Moore. James, thanks as always for your time today.